What a weekend. 3 hat-tricks this weekend. You got 5 in the Premier League. You remember all of them, I would imagine.
Probably, yeah. I do, yeah.
The last of them was against Bolton. But you like the third goal in that one, don't you?
Yeah, it's just like putting a little bit of icing on it. Platty just knocks it over, and I thought, you know what? Let me just send that home. Just go home, ball. That was a magnificent day.
You know, the ball knows where it wants to go. You just need to help it.
Listen, I don't know what the problem is with a lot of these strikers. The ball, just send them home. That's his home. Send it home.
Is that going to be our theme then for today? I don't know what the problem is with these strikers. Everybody should be doing what Haaland's doing.
Yes, send the ball home.
He's basically just doing the obvious thing every single time.
Very easily as well.
Flo Lloyd-Hughes and Tim Sherwood are with us. I mean, a fantastic weekend. Erling Haaland, again, with a hat-trick, his 3rd of the season. He's 8 games into his Manchester City career in the Premier League. And again, he just delivers.
Yeah, there's not really enough words in the dictionary, I think, to describe him now. Just running out of adjectives and superlatives. He's an unbelievable athlete. He's like if you stitched every element of not just footballers, but just elite athletes from NFL, rugby, track and field. You just patched them. You know, he's got Daley Thompson athleticism in him, but he's also got that agility of a wide receiver in the NFL. Everything patched together. He's a superb athlete, and he almost seems unstoppable, which seems ridiculous to say, but you just don't know how he can be stopped.
No, and it just looks as though he's finding it all, as you said, so easy, so natural. But is he the difference for City, do you think, this season? No, in the Premier League, they won it last season but without him. The goals that he's scoring this season, OK, it might take them to it, and it looks like it will take them to another title. We'll talk about Arsenal in a minute. But is it Europe where we'll see the biggest difference, do you think?
I think that if you look at Erling's goal-scoring record, he breaks all records wherever he plays, but certainly Champions League is his specialist subject. I mean, the goals that he scored in the Champions League are phenomenal. I think he will be the difference. I think in past years, sometimes they struggle to win games. Very few games, but they struggle to win when they're not playing brilliant. They don't have to play well now. When you've got someone as clinical as Erling Haaland, you just create 1 or 2 chances, he will take 1 or 2. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, I never felt that he would... Sometimes when players come to the Premier League, you'd think, are they going to suffer? Is it going to be a slow burner for them to really settle into the Premier League? We knew straight away he wasn't going to, because of physicality, as Flo says. I mean, he's just a absolute machine, isn't he? I mean, his pace, his touch, his cuteness. I think he's very bright as well. I think Pep's trying to tell him just to stay up the field, let everyone else do the build-up play. You just keep in the width for the goal, occupy the centre halves, create the space for the number 10s. De Bruyne, I mean, it must be a premium for someone to go and play for Man City, and someone like Kevin De Bruyne and Phil Foden and Gundogan to play in behind you. It must be a dream. He's the envy of all number 9s around the world. Everyone wants to play for Man City, and him going there and succeeding has made them feel even more greener than the background.
Wait, people don't know the background is green here. It's a trick. Erling Haaland is on course to score 66 goals for Manchester City in the Premier League alone this season. The numbers are just ridiculous. We've said before, or you were making the point before, I think last season, about a striker coming in to be the Aguero replacement at Manchester City. You said they don't even need to be top draw. But when you get somebody who can do what Haaland does, and then you add that to Manchester City, is that why we're seeing what we're seeing? Yeah,
we are. And like Tim said, they don't even have to play well now because they've got somebody in focal point where Kevin De Bruyne can just turn it around the corner and, he'll be there. They put the ball in the box, and they didn't have that kind of focal striker who's in there heading it in and doing that sort of stuff. Even Aguero, the way Aguero played, he didn't do the same kind of finishes. But when you look at now where he is, where he's arriving, where he's tapping things in, even when City are going through a spell where it's not going well, they get a move together, get the ball in the box, bam, that's the 1-0, that's everybody relaxed, and now they can get on with it. And then you've seen it, he looks... I said at the start, after the Community Shield game, I said, just looking at the way he's smiling and laughing, it's kind of like almost like, OK, right, that's it. I'm not going to do that ever again. I'm just going to take every single chance I get. And he said himself, he feels like he's unstoppable. And in that team, he is unstoppable, because even if you're not playing well, someone's going to put something on a plate for you if you're in there.
You know, when you were saying about the fact that they don't have to be playing well in order for them to get goals now because they've got Haaland there, but is it almost the case that from a midfielder's point of view or from one of the creative players' point of view, actually it raises your game as well, because you think, do you know what, everything I do now is likely to come off, because Erling Haaland's like a 42% shot conversion rate is just ridiculous. Yeah. But it can give you confidence as well.
Absolutely. I think, especially when teams play against Man City, because they're so good, they show them that respect, they get everyone behind the ball, so it's really hard to break down. But that first goal is so important, because when they score the first goal, the opposition then have to come out, and then the space is for the rest of the team. And invariably he scores the first goal. You know, it's a half a chance. You know, he just sticks it in the back of the net, then they're 1-0 down, then they have to find a plan B. And the plan B, it normally is to come out and open the space up, and then that's where they get exploited for the likes of De Bruyne and that.
But this is hilarious.
It's horrendous.
8, and the next one is 48 for Michael Owen.
It's incredible. I mean, it's sick, isn't it?
Can I just say, when you look at the names on that list, and every single one of them, if they're in a team of that calibre, they're doing that kind of stuff, because the amount of chance, I'm not taking anything away from how good he is, but the amount of chances that they're making. And if you are clinical, like I mentioned about, you don't have to be clinical. If you're clinical as he is, you're taking everything. You're gonna gobble everything up, and that's what he's doing at the moment.
He gave a really interesting interview about what Pep Guardiola is asking him to do, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it, because he talked about, yes, the idea of it just playing between the posts, though he didn't do it because he got 2 assists in that game as well, so he was contributing, and no one's ever done that, scored a hat-trick and assisted 2 goals in a Premier League match ever. But he talked about being there on his own at the times when he is required to do that. And he said, do you know what, especially over the last couple of years, I've spent a lot of time on my own. He said, I quite like being on my own. I can get myself into that place on the pitch. I mean, just the psychological impact of that, and the sort of mental aspect of the game. Because when you see how physical he is, you don't really take that into consideration, but that's impressive as well.
It's very impressive. He's very impressive. Like Flo rightly mentioned, how he is. He's an amalgamation of so many different players and sports people. But I think that what is great about what City have in Erling Haaland is the focal point of what he can do. He can do everything. When he came, people were saying, oh, well, we'll see what happens because everybody drops deep for City, and so he ain't going to have space to run into. But we can see he can link the play, he can assist, he can run beyond, he can do everything. It's really, you're probably going into games now, it's like Arsenal playing against like Drogba and Kane. You're going in 1-0 down. With Erling Haaland, literally every team is going into the game, they're 1-0 down, because he's going to take one of the easy chances that's going to be created for him. And even if they're not, if they're too high with their line, he's going to be able to break through and finish. It seems to me now, to try and beat City, you're going to have to be perfect throughout the game. Even if they do defend in patches, what I saw against United, really quite, I wouldn't say shoddy, but like they were a little bit slack. They're still going to score 6 goals. It's tough. It's like an impossible task.
He doesn't care if he's involved in the build-up. I mean, he's a player who does not mind. He's not coming deep. We see Kane doing it a lot. When the midfield can't find him high up the field, he comes deeper and deeper just to get involved in the game. Erling's happy doing what he does. Pep's got it into his psyche. He knows he's doing a job for the team by keeping them pinned back, creating the space for the others. And his specialist subject is scoring goals, and that is what he gets. He gets the service from all them guys around him. I mean, it's a dream to play in their side. I mean, I would pay to play for them. I mean, it's just incredible. When you look at some of the patterns, what they paint there, it was just brilliant. I mean, you just want to, if you're an offensive player, and Wright was, you want to play for Man City. You want to play every single day on that training field, because all you work on, it's not about without the ball. Certainly. They're obsessed with what we're going to do out of possession. Pep's philosophy is keep the ball off them, and then we haven't got to worry. We keep the ball off them. We know how to create chances. The patterns are brilliant. The guile with their midfield is absolutely second to none, and he's going to score goals. Of course, he's going to score goals, but he still has to do it. He can only foul. If he come over and he didn't score, we'll look at him as a failure. All he can do is continue with these numbers, and does any of us doubt that he will continue? I don't. I have no doubt he will break.
And when everybody else goes off to the World Cup, he's got a break in which to kind of rest, recuperate, build on his technique, and kind of come back and hit the ground running. And because he looks like he's really lacking.
No,
at the moment.
Pep talked about it after. He gives all Dortmund, physios a lot of credit for the way he's been injured. In the last season, he was out, and they got him right of doing something correct with him.
And that relationship, we talked about the players who create for him, Kevin De Bruyne, that sort of, we saw the fruits of that almost immediately. The Phil Foden relationship, they talked about after the game as growing, and we saw that, in the game yesterday. And 2 of Foden's hat-trick were assisted by Haaland.
Yeah, that understanding he's got quite quickly, I think, is really impressive because, like Ian said, that Community Shield game, I think there were quite a few doubts about him as well, and the way that he had, I think, was it like 12 touches or something, and everyone thought, is he going to blend into this team? But actually, he's proven his average goals per touches ratio is ridiculous. He doesn't need many touches because he's going to be there in the right places, as we've discussed. But that understanding that you need, which is what makes Pep's teams so different, because if you look at the matchup yesterday, that's what United didn't have. They didn't have that understanding because a lot of these players are slotting into roles and they don't quite know what each individual person needs to do yet. But the beauty of a Pep team is when he changes things, there's always a plan. Everyone understands their individual role so well, whereas United, they didn't have that yesterday. And that's why there were so many gaps that opened up, because the system didn't quite work, the individual roles didn't quite work, and you're going to get exploited because the Pep philosophy and the Pep team is just so regimental that they can just drop players in, but those players still have such a good individual understanding of what they need to do.
Yeah, and then you see the effect that can have on Phil Foden, who already had a great start to his career at Manchester City, but he gets the hat-trick. He becomes the first Manchester-born City player to score a hat-trick in a Manchester derby in the Premier League. Wow. And that's a huge thing. As he said afterwards, I'm a City fan. That's what I grew up as a kid, and I get to not just play in a derby, but score a hat-trick.
And when I remember when he first came on the scene, everyone was saying, why don't I give him a chance? He needs to play him. Why don't you let him go out on loan? I was thinking, this guy, he needs to go out. And you think to yourself, well, he doesn't need to go out playing with the players he's playing with. Yeah. And Pep would always shut that talk down because they obviously know what they've got in Phil Foden. He's one of the best players, captain of the World Cup squad that won under 17s. He's the one player that's really gone to the top, and he's maintained. He's not dropped off at all since he's been that team. We never heard anything about him saying, I just want to play, can I go out on loan? He just got on with it, and now he looks like, how are you going to leave him out of that side? Yeah. Especially with the way he can link up, he can do so many things. The position he's playing now is brilliant. He's coming onto things, he's coming up with one touch into the box, finishing, like saw that last finish, fantastic finish. We're talking about somebody who's playing, for me now, in the perfect position, in the perfect team, for his stature as well.
But that's what Pep Guardiola has now at City. And even when there were injuries before the game, and there were a few kind of Manchester United fans looking at that City lineup and thinking, a couple of injuries in defence there, no Rodri. Yeah. This might be an opportunity, particularly if they can get Rashford running through. that proved to be the problem for him, was actually getting hold of the ball. But if Manchester United can get through on the counter and they've got Rashford there, that might be the way they can take something from this game. But Pep Guardiola said before the game, look, this isn't about tactics. He said this is about to put them in place. This is about the players, and they're the variable in all of this. When you have players of that quality at City, consistency is the watchword for them, and there is no real variable. Whereas at Manchester United, you see what Eric Ten Hag is doing, and there just isn't that consistency of performance in the players. Even if his plan might be right, they're not executing it necessarily in the right way.
I think Pep always pushes I think he gives the credit to the players all of the time, and he does that very well.
He's
very modest. He's very modest in the way, but it's not. Well, it's actually about him. Yeah. A lot of it is about him, without doubt. He's the best coach we've ever seen in the Premier League, in my opinion. Not so Alex Ferguson's the best manager. His record suggests that, but Pep knows exactly what he wants from his team. When he first came over here, it was like he's never going to be able to do it in the Premier League. You can't play tic-tac and football over here. Well, you can. You can with little players as well. He's bringing over the David Silvas and Aguero's. And it was sensational. I mean, he knows exactly what he wants from his players. He tweaks it. It doesn't always stay the same. His style of play has moved on. And each player knows exactly what's required of them. He doesn't ask any player to do anything they're not capable of doing, which is a strength of a manager. So that is why they're allowed to express themselves, and that's why they enjoy themselves every single day going in there. It's not just about coming out in match days. You know, they have to go in every day. And when you, believe me, right, you tell you the same, it becomes a job. And people listening around the world will be going, well, it's what, the best job in the world? Well, sometimes it becomes very boring, depending on which manager you're with. You're never bored with Pep Guardiola. Never. Because you all want to play with the ball. You all want to just dominate football matches, and they do it every single time. It's about control of the game. He takes control of the football match first and foremost. And now, with big Erling Haaland, you've got someone who's just going to capitalise and be clinical and put the game away from the opposition.
Yeah, I'm not sure how deep that humility runs, because he was asked after the game about Haaland, and they said, you know, how brilliantly he's doing. He said, oh yeah, it's great what Haaland's doing. I mean, it's not just because he's working with me. I mean, there are other things in there. It's his innate talent. It was like, nobody's asking about what you've done. But he does understand Guardiola clearly what he brings to that setup. It's just whether or not it works on the pitch, and it does work on the pitch because he has the players to do that, whether there are injuries or not. Whereas for Erik ten Hag, he has players who aren't necessarily consistent, who don't necessarily implement what he wants to do. He said they lacked confidence yesterday, but also, of the players he has, the one that has delivered the most consistently over the years is Cristiano Ronaldo, who doesn't get on the pitch. Ten Hag said, I mean, there's an argument about whether he starts games, but clearly that's not in Ten Hag's plans. But there is an argument of whether you bring him on, and Ten Hag said, I couldn't do that to him out of respect for his career and his status in the game. Can you bring Cristiano Ronaldo on at 4-0 down in a Manchester derby and say, Cristiano, can you turn this for us?
I think it's. I think Ten Hag's shown him a lot of respect. I probably fit. You know, I'm not a manager. You know, what I mean. I can't say what he should or shouldn't do. But like,
you can say from a player's point of view.
From a player's point of view, I think he showed him a lot of respect. It's something that I can understand, because if I'm going to be totally honest, seeing Cristiano Ronaldo coming on at 4-0. It's you know, it's going to kind of make him feel. It's going to make people feel like, well, what's going on here? At the same time, he's a Man United player, and the manager should be able to bring him on whenever he wants. I thought, like, Ten Hag's done well for him in that respect. You've got to remember, everybody's saying, they were 4-0. He was playing when they were 4-0 down at like Brentford. So it's not like, oh my gosh, he's you know what I mean, he should have been starting, he shouldn't have been. He's been there when they've been 4-0 down. But like, you know, with Cristiano, what you're going to do it's a massive problem. We know in respects of, you know, him wanting to leave, should he be there, isn't he there? I probably would play him. While he's there, I'd probably play him, because he does score goals. He scores goals. Whether or not he would have done it against Manchester City or not, yes, we don't know. But at the same time, you know, he's the one who's scoring goals, and that's what it's about. It's up to the other players to get up to speed, whether they've got a plan B or not, whether that team's good enough or not, lacking confidence. They're still going through a transition. The fact is that he's there to be used. For me, he should start the game. I would start the game with him.
And then, as you say, it still doesn't guarantee that you're not going to be 4-0 down at half-time.
He scores goals. He scores goals for you, and while he's there, you should use him to do that. You know, that's the only thing. Same with Casemiro. You know, we're talking about a very experienced winning player who, in this kind of game, is going to probably be able to, you know what I mean, navigate what's going on a little bit better than maybe the players that were in there. Doesn't start. Can't understand it.
Do you think that, I mean, there's a lot of man management going on here, you feel, from Erik ten Hag as well, like changing a team that's won their last 4 games and bringing Casemiro in just for the City game might be part of his man management strategy as well?
Yeah, but I don't know. No, Kels, I don't think so.
OK.
No, I don't think so. Simply because we're talking about, even if he's somebody who's trying to get up to speed, we're talking about somebody who's played in massive games. He knows how to deal with this. Same with Ronaldo. They're coming up. What we can't take away from the fact that they're coming up against a Man City side that really, they respect teams, but they've got no respect for teams. They're just going out and they're going to blast you. Whether he's got Casemiro or Ronaldo in, they're going to do what they've done yesterday. I just believe that with them two in, you've got maybe a little bit of a better chance. But saying that, you know, there doesn't seem to be any plan B, and the confidence left that Man United team very, very quickly, and because they're trying to build something. I
keep going back to this Ronaldo point, because I think as long as he's there, as long as he's at the club, and they didn't manage to sort of deal out for him to leave in the last transfer window, there is always going to be focus on him, because you have one of the greatest players ever is 37 now, doesn't seem to want to play in the way that Erik ten Hag wants to set the team up. And so there's an issue to be solved there. But because it's Ronaldo, we're always going to focus on. He's always going to pull focus. The cameras, we're always going to talk about him while he's there. Can you, though, ask him at 4-0 down at half-time to come on? Could you do that as a manager? If you're...
I would ask him.
Yeah?
I would talk to him. I wouldn't just make that decision at 4-0 down. I always show him the respect and I say, Cristiano.
Yeah, but isn't that a power imbalance? Because as the head coach or the manager, shouldn't you be the one making decisions rather than putting decisions in the hands of a player?
The flow of the game's dead. It's not a question of us turning it around and getting back in the game. So that is over. Now it's just a case of speaking to the man. You don't want to lose him. I agree with Wrighty. I think if he's in your squad, depending on who's ahead of him, but we're talking about Man United, are you telling me Marcus Rashford's a better number 9 than Cristiano Ronaldo? I won't even hear it, even at 37.
I still think in that scenario, I don't know, I still feel like in that scenario it feels strange to put the power in the hands of the player when, from a man management point of view, you've still got to hold the power and show that you're the one making the decisions, not the players.
What do you think the answer would have been if he would have asked Cristiano if he wanted to come in at 4-0 down?
I don't know.
I think he would have said yes.
I think he would have said yes. I think he would have said yes.
Do you?
I think he would have done. Yeah,
because
also,
I'd like to think
he's on
he's
699 club goals. Does he want his 700 to come
it doesn't
as
matter.
a 4-1 against
I don't think
Manchester
Cristiano
City?
cares when they come, and just as long as they keep coming. I mean, he knows now. He knows full well he's not got long left in the game.
There's something.
I think players want to play, right? So I think any opportunity to get on the pitch, regardless of the score, he'd probably take it.
Flo. There's something quite respectful about Ten Hag and what he's done, and this is why I think I don't want people to get confused what Tim's saying about it asking, because now I'm thinking of it. Because it's him.
So respect rather than power.
Yeah, because it's him, I'd ask him. Because you do like the adage of no player is bigger than the club. When you're looking at Cristiano Ronaldo and where Man United are at the moment, the fact that we're talking about Ten Hag, mentioning to him, listen, says to me at the moment, he's kind of seen, he's bigger than the club at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way Cristiano is, because like you say, all the focus is on him. So I think that it's an awkward one for so long as he's there. It's always going to be awkward for the manager, and the manager's now having to make decisions that's really got nothing to do with what's going on the pitch. Really, it's to deal with this guy.
Yeah. And also, I think,
crazy.
Regardless if Ronaldo had played in that game or not, the issue was a gaping hole in midfield that was caused by McTominay and Eriksen.
Yes.
And Ronaldo probably wouldn't have changed that at all. I think it was the wrong formation, and the players didn't understand the roles and responsibilities and who had to go where. And that's the beauty of a Man City team, because they pull you out of position, they make you make those decisions. But Ronaldo wouldn't have changed the game, because he would have done exactly the same what Marcus Rashford were doing, which was change nothing, which was create more gaps and have nothing to chase. So I actually think, you know, at the end of the day, just like Ian said, he's driving more headlines when actually it should really be about a lot of the decisions that Ten Hag did wrong.
Yeah, and if you don't go 4-0 down at half-time, you don't have the decision of whether to bring on Cristiano Ronaldo.
From his point of view, when I was sitting there when it was 4-0, I was thinking, well, at least he's not going to be the scapegoat this week. You know, when it's at Brentford, it was his fault. You know, it's Cristiano Ronaldo, it's his fault. I mean, of course it's not. But, and we talk about Ten Hag and how he wants to play and he doesn't fit into... How does he want to play? I mean, I'm still scratching my head to see a real clear formula of how he wants to play. So at the moment, why not play one of the greatest players we've ever seen?
That is a debate that will continue to rage, as we said, as long as Erik ten Hag is sitting on the bench and looking over his shoulder and there is Cristiano Ronaldo. Up next...